Okay, I was on mute. Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Give us some time for folks to hop on in. We're super excited to have you all here. I'm just trying to get the music up. So give me 1 second. Okay, that's nice. I have to turn it down a bit because with Facebook, if you play music for too long without talking and stuff, they will flag it. So just having to get it started, but so excited to have folks here. Um, Pulling up my screen now so I can hop on into the chat with you all. Hey, hey, I'm saying y'all, I swear y'all, like I am not a part of the Beehive, but you gotta give props to Beyonce and her performances. Like no one does it better. So as folks kind of come on in, go ahead and say hi in the chat. We'd love to see who all's here with us today. Give you a quick shout out before we get started today. As you know, or some of you may know if you frequent here, is that my name is Michelle, and I'm the senior program manager here at Women Engage. And so, this is a part of our ongoing series. You ask, we answer. So we oftentimes get a lot of questions around voting. I swear, y'all, like I am not a part of the Beehive, but let's just see here what is going on. Oh, it's all right here. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, y'all. I had some. I'm trying to work out the technical stuff. For folks who don't know, Mercury is in retrograde and it is showing out for me. I have not been having the best of luck with technology this week. I'm just so excited to have you all here, though. Thank you so much. Um, and while we're talking, like while formation was on and we're waiting for folks to come on into the room, uh, I'm burning a new candle, right? And I just had a shout out because I got it from New Orleans. I was gifted with an amazing gift for a gift card at Etsy, and so I've been doing a little bit more work to support Black-owned businesses, Black-owned creators. And so this is actually by Wix Nola Candle Company, based in New Orleans, and this is their candle, "No Justice, No Peace." And so I think it's just like the candle smells like being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And for folks who don't know, like I love Fannie Lou Hamer, so I had to get that candle. I just had to get the candle. So it smells really good. I've like honestly been waiting until it got closer to November 3rd to burn it. So this is actually my first time burning the candle. So super excited about that. I see we got some more people in here watching. Oh my gosh. Hey y'all. Come on and say hi in the chat. I would love to see you all. Hey, we're just giving it a little more time. Go ahead and start. I know I was a little bit late jumping on today, but again, technology just has not been on my side. But thank you all for people who are hopping in. We're about to get started with the program today. Um, just to kind of talk about what we'll be speaking about is more so, a lot of people we've been showing out in record numbers. I mean, come on, Georgians, come on, like just community, people showing out to vote. And so today we're gonna have a question about like what's really on the ballot and also like how to vote in this election given the different things that are going on. So we've gotten questions about like what if I request my ballot but I decide to vote in person? Um, what do I expect when it comes to November 3rd and voting in person? Um, Also, what to expect after November 3rd and what kind of conversations there are with that. Yes, I think I got this rap from it was the Black Women's Expo in was that 2018? I think it was. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But yes, no, I look. I love me a good head wrap. And so I was super excited to get this. I'm trying to remember, I think I might have that woman's card somewhere. But yeah, it's like amazing, amazing hair wrap. Thank you so much. And so yeah, y'all, we are piling in the room. So I'm super excited. But of course, we got the jams. We're too legit to quit. I know folks are feeling a little burnt out, getting all the texts and the calls from everyone and stuff. Like, but we appreciate you all for hanging in there, showing up here every week. or watching our videos in the future, just to get informed about what is going on and what's happening here for us. And so I'm also going to talk a little bit about my experience voting this year as well, and how that has been, especially because I mean, in 2020, we have seen a large flux of folks who have been voting by absentee or voting by mail. And I would say, like, this is the first time that I've ever done it. So, and kind of talk about that experience and the differences between the primary to now. Um, and so, yeah. Oh my gosh. Hey, y'all. I see more people are coming on in. Hi. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to have you all here. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. I always like to have these first few moments just to say hi to everyone. We could vibe out a bit on some music. If you guys have suggestions for music, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will add it to this playlist. This is our collaborative playlist. We often use it to play for our team, just to pump up the jams and really keep morale going as we continue to get vital and critical information to our communities about like how to be astute on the issues and how to continue to exercise their right to vote, and also how to advocate for themselves and the things that matter most to them beyond election years to the elected officials and to the community. And so if you want more information about that, you can also join our efforts by visiting our website. Oh man, I swear y'all, MC Hammer. I have very vivid memories of being in elementary school and many dances being to this song. Let's see here. Sorry, y'all, I'm just setting up a couple more things as we get this started because this will be the first Zoom that I do where we actually, what is it? Like share my screen. So that's like a little fun thing, right? So I'm excited about that. Oh God. Alrighty, y'all. So I'm gonna pull up this nifty sample ballot so we can talk about what is really at stake. Oh, yay! There's the list there for folks who are hopping in. If you want to join your favorite songs and see some of the songs that are on the playlist, you can check that out. I'll tell you now, I was very interested. Like, I don't know for folks who've been watching Hamilton or have seen Hamilton. I saw it once, and the visuals definitely threw me off a bit, but that soundtrack is slaps. And so I say that to say somebody, I don't know who this person is, had added some Hamilton songs on that. And whoever you are, if you're watching this, thank you. Because I was just like, wait, like I was playing it one day and I was like, did I mix up the playlist? And saw that somebody else had actually put that on there. So I thought that was really awesome. So thank you. Shout out to whoever did that because it definitely lifted my spirits because I listen to that soundtrack at least once a week. And so I'm again having technical issues. We are almost there, y'all. I promise. We have the sample ballot up, so we can go ahead and just dive right on in about what is on the election. Now, I will tell you all now when it comes to Georgia politics in general, or just like most states, you can request to see a sample ballot. And I definitely encourage folks, especially those who are deciding to vote in person, to look at a sample ballot before you get to the polling location. And the reason I say that is because the ballot is long. Okay, it is long. Here in Georgia, it is 2 pages. Um, it is 2 pages, and it's always just important to kind of become aware of what's going on because there are a number of different measures that sometimes just need a little teasing out. Just need a little teasing out. So sorry, you guys, I'm getting my windows together because as many of us who are working from home, I have all of the tabs open. All right. So we are going to try to do this share screen. If folks can, let me know in the chat if once you can see it. I'll let you know once I share it. Let's see. Share screen. All right, let's do that. All righty, I think we might be up. You have to let me know. Oh snap, I think we got it. I think we got it. I don't think you can see it well though. I'm gonna fix that visual because I want to make sure that folks can see this. We stands accessibility here, okay? And I'm gonna turn down the music just a tad bit so folks can hear as we really just start diving on into this. Let's see here. All right, yay! Thank you so much for confirming that you all can see it. All right, so if anybody needs me to make the font a little bit bigger or something, I can definitely do that as well. But again, I just wanted to kind of show people what the ballot looks like and what to expect, especially for those who are voting in person. For my folks who are out of state, your ballot will, of course, look a little bit different, but this will also still help familiarize you, which is some things that you can expect in your state. But I would encourage you to contact your state secretary of state, your state's secretary of state. I know it's weird, to really get ask for a sample ballot before you vote in person if that's your decision to do so. So I want to also, of course, preference this as we continue to go through this ballot that Women Engage is a nonprofit organization. That means that we are nonpartisan. We do not advocate for or against any political party or candidate, and that this is more so for informational purposes. And we wholeheartedly trust for you to do however you say, whether you're voting or not, or whoever you're voting for. But we just want to make sure that everyone is well informed about what to expect when going to vote in this election. So here we are. Whenever you get a sample ballot, it'll say like official, provisional, emergency ballot. Some states are a little bit different, and it comes with some instructions here on the left. The biggest thing is, and this also counts for if you're doing the mail-in ballot option, is that you want to make sure to use blue or black ink. Do not use colors. Do not use markers. It's best to use a pen. And also, you want to fill in the ovals completely. Do not make X's or check marks or anything like that, especially on your mail-in ballots, because it can, cause issues and things like that. Also, it says do not circle, underline, or mark any choices. We talked about the check marks, and do not sign, cut, or tear a damaged ballot. So let's say that you're voting on the election and you make a mistake. What you need to do is go ahead and write void across your ballot and contact your local county elections office immediately about the best way to get it back to them and ask them for a new ballot. And so, like it says right here, do not mark through the selection or attempt to erase, write spoiled across the ballot, and mail or return the ballot to your county board of registrar, and a new ballot will be issued back to you. So, of course, here everyone knows about the presidential race. In Georgia, we actually have 2 Senate seats up for election. And so we'll have the first box over here, and then we have the special election that's here in this long column here. And so this is another reason why I wanted to bring out the ballot, because not many people know that we have a position here that has, I think, 20 candidates running for this seat. So I just wanted to kind of go over that for you all as well. If you all missed it, a couple weeks ago, we had our special guest gala with Georgia Conservation Voters come and talk to us about the importance of the Public Service Commissioner, which is a commission that actually is in charge of how high utilities are, who we pay utilities to, and so much more information. So definitely encourage you all to check that out, but that's what we have here on this ballot. I will also note too that this ballot is for Fulton County, so that's for the Atlanta metro area. But if you use the My Voter page, that's mvp.sos.ga.gov, you can actually pull up your own sample ballot that is unique and specific to your area. So if you have a local election in your area, stuff like that, that will also be on the ballot as well. And next we have U.S. representatives for Congress. So as many of you all know, the great, Representative John Lewis did pass away earlier this year. So we are having an election for his seat in Congressional District 5. There's also a host of state senators and state representatives that are also running for election as well. Now, in Georgia, we have an organization called the Georgia Assembly that is comprised of our state senators and state House of Representative members who help make policies and pass policies that the governor will sign into law for your state. Often, many states have similar bodies, may go by different names, but honestly kind of act as like the state's version of Congress. And so next we have district attorney. clerk superior court, sheriff, which controls policing on the county level. It's kind of like your chief of police in that regard. So for folks who have an interest in that, we also have tax commissioner, surveyor, solicitor general, and state court of Fulton County commissioners, which is kind of like your Congress on a county level. And the reason I'm using these particulars to kind of draw some similarities is because, again, we put so much focus on what's occurring nationally that we want to make sure that we're also connecting the dots when it comes to looking down ballot, right? And so here I actually have some notes. I'm going to pull them up on my left side because I want to make sure that I get this correct. But we have a few proposed constitutional amendments. Now, these amendments are things that occur during our state legislative session. Here in Georgia, the Georgia Assembly, the Congress for the state that I mentioned, um, has their sessions between January and April of each year. And this is where they pass different resolutions, bills, things that affect funding or, you know, other things that just affect funding and really pass policies on making different changes to issues that we really care about happens. And so I'm trying to find out where my tab on my notes went to in regards to how to break down these constitutional amendments, because oftentimes this language here does not speak to the breadth of what exactly they are mentioning. So I want to make sure that we cover that today a little bit more in depth about what is going on, right? So the first one that we have is the House Resolution 164. And so it says, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to authorize the General Assembly to dedicate revenues derived from fees or taxes to the public purpose for which such fees were intended? Now, I will tell you now, I was like, this like when you read that, can you imagine going to go vote and that this is the first thing that you see? I can because like we have definitely gotten a few questions about this. And so I am definitely using some language here from our partners at Advancing Justice, who has provided a comprehensive listing of breaking down what is going on here, right? But they say that this amendment would allow the Georgia General Assembly to establish special funds that will be dedicated to a specific project. So many times when there is a public purpose project in the state of Georgia, there is no guarantee that all funds raised for that project will be dedicated to it. So instead, portions of funds raised may be placed into a general fund where that money can be used for other purposes. And so by voting yes on this, the assembly would ensure that revenue from taxes or fees for certain projects will fund the intended project. And by voting no, that means that there will be no changes to the current law and they will be able to still put that into a general fund. But to kind of put that out there, because I think too, we also think as well about like some of the assumptions that folks make in regards to like what laws or policies work. Because I would tell you right now, when I first came across that, I was wondering, I was like, isn't that how it's supposed to be? You know, like when we talk about like if you have funds and stuff like that, but in Georgia, that is not the case. So they wanted to put it up to vote for folks in Georgia to vote on whether or not how they want their state to move on that. And so if folks have any questions, particularly about certain things on the ballot, please feel free to drop it in the chat. I want to make sure that I uplift this, but I'm just touching on some of the questions that I know we've been getting so far. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about number 2, which waives state and local sovereign immunity for violation of state laws, state and federal constitutions. So this was in House Resolution 1023. And also, if you want to see a PDF of these bills, they are on the Georgia General Assembly website. And in fact, I'm going to pull up exactly what that website is now. It's legis.ga.gov. So if you would like, you can feel free to also look at the full PDF and see the people who voted on these bills, to see the exact language, to see what committees they were in and things like that if you want to go more in depth. And of course, if you want some assistance in your journey to legislative advocacy, we would love to have you on board. So go ahead and check us out at our website at womenengage.org, and you can sign up today to join in on like getting trained about how to talk to legislators and things like that. So sorry. that was my little spiel. I just can't help but put a plug in. Okay, like, but for House Resolution 1023, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to waive sovereign immunity and allow the people of Georgia to petition the Superior Court for relief from governmental acts done outside the scope of lawful authority or which violate the laws of this state, Constitution of Georgia, or the Constitution of the United States. So I will also note, and I believe that this actually came about in this week's segment of What's on the Ballot. We actually posted a really nifty graphic that talks a little bit more about what is sovereign immunity. And so currently, Georgia's government uses sovereign immunity, which is legal doctrine that allows the government to avoid civil lawsuits or criminal prosecution. If this measure were passed, residents, we would be able to seek relief through the superior courts or local laws that violate the US Constitution, state constitution, or state law. This measure does not allow monetary reward, however, meaning that if the plaintiff, so like if a Georgian wins their lawsuit, that we would be granted declaratory relief rather than compensation money. So it's more so as an ability to really hold the government accountable for any infringements upon Georgians' rights if they've done harm to them by in accordance to being like violating the laws of the Constitution of the United States, Georgia, or local law. And so I'm just checking the comments to see if there are any questions. All right, if not, we're going to go ahead and step to the next one, which is the tax exemption for certain real property owned by charities. So this is House Bill 344. Shall the act be approved, which provides an exemption from ad valorem taxes for all real property owned by purely public charity, if such charity is exempt from taxation under Section 501c3 of the Federal Internal Revenue Code, and such real property is held exclusively for the purpose of building or repairing single-family homes to be financed by such charity to individuals using loans that shall not bear interest, right? And so it's like, what is happening here? And so again, I'm going to borrow some of the language here from from Advancing Justice here, where they say that like currently the property owned by 501c3 organizations they have to pay property taxes even if they're selling this property to families with no interest loans. So there's some organizations that do provide these services to people who are in need of housing. And so this actually is an effort to make it more affordable for folks. But this is really burdensome on the organizations themselves and actually makes it more expensive. So if this measure was passed, public charities like Habitat for Humanity will be exempt from property taxes if the purpose of the owned property is for building or repairing single-family home that will be sold under a no-interest loan. And so that explains some of the top points that we all share together as Georgians currently on our ballot. And so here, and this is just something to talk about, is that here in Atlanta, we also do have a special city election. And so this one also kind of falls in line with the state referendum around establishing a tax exemption for real property. So it reads, shall the act be approved, which provides a new homestead exemption from City of Atlanta ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes in the amount of $30,000 for each resident of the City of Atlanta who holds real property subject to a written lease having an initial term of not less than 99 years with a landlord that is an entity exempt from taxation under Section 501c3 of the Federal Internal Revenue Code and who owns all improvements located on the real property. So this is also too talking about basically like subsidizing some of the property taxes that they would be paying up to $30,000 for charities that are giving or that are selling homes at no interest rates to people who are in need. Are there any questions about this ballot before I stop sharing my screen and we talk a little bit more about the voting experience and some of the awesome tools that we have now live on our website? I'm just giving it a second because I know there's a bit of a lag with Zoom to Facebook. All righty. If there's no other questions about that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. So then there we go. All righty. And if folks do have questions that arise, don't worry. I can put my screen right back up if folks need it. But what we're going to go ahead and do now is kind of just start diving into a little bit about like what to expect, what's going on, and things like that. So the first thing first is that you might notice that on my board, we have Women Engage on our website, www.womenengage.org/vote_2020, have a one-stop shop where you can go and get information about the upcoming election, and important information just in regards to getting involved in the process. And in fact, what I will do for this section is that I will go ahead and share my screen for that as well so you guys can see how we navigate that page. Hold on, I'm bringing it up right now. Let's see here. Share. So here we are at the Women Engage website. So here you'll notice that we have a tab here at the top. It's Vote 2020. Gonna go ahead and click that. And we have our one-stop shop for quick links on how to create a voter plan, election protection information, volunteer opportunities, and some of the runoff elections that we're anticipating. And we'll get to that just shortly. But first, I want to kind of talk about, our votes are revolutionary. We live in a country that does do a lot of work to make voting hard. And the thing is that when community shows out, we really show out together in love. And so always remember that your vote is revolutionary. The next part is creating a voter plan. So our three-step process is, especially for those who are voting in person, is that make a pledge to vote. So our pledge to vote link is bit.ly/ in all caps WEP, then lowercase LEDGE. That's We Pledge. And that is an effort to make sure that we are, for one, like taking accurate count, building community around voting, but also making sure that we are identifying some of the obstacles and barriers that may prohibit people from voting or making voting a little bit difficult. So that's things like needing childcare, needing translation, needing disability assistance or services as well, needing transportation to the polls. If you do need a ride to the polls, definitely encourage you to check out ridetothepoll.com. And sorry for that noise. If you hear something going on in the background, can't help that outside. Um, but here, this is just a time to make sure that our vote is heard. And so if you haven't already requested your ballot, please do so immediately. It's so vital, it's so important. We just went over the sample ballot, so super excited about that. To kind of go over that and then schedule your time to vote. So sometimes people get really like, I got to come up with a plan, because there's so much fatigue around voting and stuff like that. But coming up with a voter plan is almost the same way in which we come up with plans to go see our doctor or get maintenance on a car or, just to go see or meet up with a friend or family member, which is kind of like you, first of all, set a date and time, maybe a window of time in which you're available. You'll look up how to get to those locations. So for my folks who are waiting until November 3rd, it's going to be really critical for you all to check your polling location the day before or 2 days before, just in case that polling location may have changed due to COVID-19 or any other reasons. If you're going to do early voting, the benefit of that is that you can actually vote anywhere in your county. So you do not have to go to your polling location. And in fact, especially if you stay in some of the larger counties here in Georgia, it's really important for you to go ahead and take advantage of some of these larger facilities that have the capacity to handle a lot more people. And that's just in order to help folks who may be walking to polling locations or have transportation or accessibility issues and need to go to one of the smaller locations. And then, of course, if you are also thinking about doing a mail-in ballot, but you're like, I haven't gotten it yet, or I'm worried if it's going to be mailed on time, you can actually drop it off at an official Dropbox. I know that that's what I did this time around. It was very helpful, happened really fast. It was, I really appreciate it. And then, of course, if you are going to mail it off, best practice is to go ahead and use 2 stamps. That's just to make sure that it gets there. We kind of already went over like the length of the ballot here in Georgia. If you're out of state, your ballot may be a little bit longer, it may be thicker. we're not sure. But like, want to make sure that you have that. And then, of course, and final thing is to vote, making sure that your vote is being counted and things like that. Now, we do know that there is some increased energy around election protection work. And in fact, we are open to people who are interested in volunteering for our election protection effort. But the first thing to really know is that, like, you see something, before you take to social media, document what is going on and contact the voter protection hotline. Oftentimes, these issues that people are facing are sometimes due to misunderstandings. And we want to make sure that we get all the details and the information before we put something out on social media, where folks may not know everything that's going on or not know if it's getting resolved and things of that nature. And we want to make sure that people are well aware of what's happening. So that number for the election protection hotline is 188 hour OUR vote. And that is in 1866, sorry y'all, 687 8683. So again, that's 1866 our votes, or that's 1866 687 8683. There we go. And then, of course, there's also election protection hotline numbers that are in language. If you are Spanish speaking, that is 1-888-54 Galeo. That's GALEO. For Asian Pacific Islander languages, you can contact 1-404-955-7322. And for those who are Arabic speaking, you can contact 1-844 YALLA-US. And so these are just some of the numbers that you all can contact. You can also use the website 866ourvote. I think .net or .org. If folks in the chat will correct me on that. I did not, for some reason, remember the end part of that, but I believe it's I think it's 866ourvote.org. Yes, but we will confirm that in the comments shortly. But this is just an effort to make sure that we are all doing our part, and that everybody can easily access the ballot box. With election protection opportunities, if you decide to volunteer, we actually have them for online and in person, and this isn't restricted by state. So for my out-of-state folks, you are more than welcome to also sign up for election protection, because we need it. We need people who are on the ground to ensure that polling locations are opening on time, that machines are working correctly, that people are not waiting in line for exuberant amounts of hours without record or report of that. And so on the other end of the election protection hotline, it's actually a group of specialized trained volunteers and lawyers who are actually working to litigate any of the issues that are happening. So oftentimes when you see polling locations that are extended, having extended hours and stuff like that, is often due to some of the work that they are doing behind the scenes as well. And so with the online election protection, what that looks like is that, as you all know, misinformation online is very rampant nowadays. A lot of our communities were targeted with misinformation leading into 2016 election, and that has not changed going into 2020. And so what we need are people who, if you're already online, you can use your your existing platforms just to monitor what is going on, as far as like if there is misinformation, working to get that information taken down, and also posting the correct information. The best way to combat voter suppression when it comes to misinformation is just by posting the correct information and making sure that we're reaching out to our families and friends to ensure that they have that information as well. So if you are interested in joining those opportunities, please sign up in the link in the comments. And thank you for that. So it's 866ourvote.org. There we go. Sorry, you guys. So yes, I'm excited about that. So I kind of already talked about some of the volunteer opportunities that we have, which is of course stopping voter suppression, and making sure everybody's vote counts. But next we have is our Women Engaged Volunteer Squad. Okay, we are over here asking for folks if you're interested in joining our nonpartisan efforts. Again, combating misinformation by reposting some of our graphics that are online. And are also just being a part of the team. We have a host of text banking and phone banking opportunities for volunteers to take part in, which is really going to assist us in reaching out to our families and friends, to those in our communities and neighborhoods, ensuring that they have what they need to feel confident about voting in the election. And so the last section of our site here is the runoff election. So please come back to this site after November 3rd as we continue to fill it up with more information. But just to let folks know, in Georgia, we are a state that if neither of the candidates receives 50% of the vote, Then we go into what we call a runoff election. That means that we will be asking Georgians to come back and vote again, right? I know. It's like, so we figured this would be a great time to go ahead and let people know that this is something that is going to happen um, going forward, or may happen going forward. Sorry, I don't want to assume that this is happening, but just to let folks know. So in December 1st, that is actually the runoff election day that is set for state and local positions down ballot. So those were all the other positions that, like, from state senator and state representative and down. Now, January 5th is the runoff election for federal seats. So that means that, as you all saw, there was one US Senate seat that has 20 people running for election. If no one receives 50% of the votes, we will be going into a runoff election, which is scheduled for January 5th. Now, next to here, I say that it says voter registration deadlines December 7th. So while there are deadlines periodically throughout the year for people to be registered in order to vote in the next upcoming election, because of how far off this election is set for January 5th, they have the cutoff date for December 7th. So for folks who may be moving to the state after November 3rd, or just for folks who want to update their information and stuff like that, it is best practice to go ahead and do that by December 7th in order for you to vote January 5th. And so, if you have any questions about voter registration, how to handle that, and things like that, we are also open to that as well. You can send us a direct message here on Facebook, Instagram, or you can always visit our website and ask questions there. So I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a dive here into like what we have here on our website, and we'll continue to keep it updated with pertinent information about what is going on, especially as we get past November 3rd. So the next thing I'm going to talk about, we're almost at time, I think we got about 20 minutes. And so yes, relational organizing. I love me some relational organizing. And for folks who are unfamiliar with the term, I want to let folks know that relational organizing is basically what we already kind of do already in our own personal lives. And that's talking to our family, our friends, our networks about the issues, but also making sure that we're giving them the information that folks need in order to either take action or to just assist people with the issue. So the reality is that oftentimes, like, not oftentimes, but we too can become astute. Like the crux of our work is that we know that everybody has the ability to learn and have information, and there's no sense in hoarding information, right? Like, it's like reach one, teach one. Okay, like making sure that we are taking the information that we know and passing it on to someone else. So it's like the best game of, like, I guess, telephone to like to say, to making sure that we're taking the information that we have, sharing it onto others. And so that's why oftentimes we encourage folks, if you're watching this, to share it in your group, share it with your family members, um, share it with your coworkers, share it with your church groups, whoever you are connected with. And this is how we continue to build community and making sure that we're building strong networks and relationships with each other, that's built on trust, understanding, and that is well informed. So yes, I just wanted to go ahead and give a quick spiel about what relational organizing was for folks who may be new to the term. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is just a little bit about my own experience voting this election. Um, so I will say I have kind of been testing the waters in 2020 with voting because I wanted to know more about what the process was like. In the primaries, I voted by mail, and I turned my ballot in like really late. Like, I mailed it off the Friday before the June of primary, and I was able to check the status of my ballot using the My Voter page, um, and was able to see that it was accepted on election day. So I was excited to see that because I wanted to see what was the latest time I could turn it in. I do not encourage anyone to do that, especially not in this election. But and then in the runoff election, I did vote in person because I wanted to see what that experience was like, especially with the new machines here in Georgia. But this time around, I will say it was very interesting doing the Dropbox location. I use the website Go Vote ga.org in order to find a Dropbox location in my county. So of course, after I filled out my ballot, I went ahead to go to the location, and this Dropbox was located in a government building that also had a police precinct in it. So um, That too, for some folks, can be a form of voter suppression, pending people's relationships with police officers and policing and things like that, or if people have any existing traumas around that as well. So I definitely want to uplift and affirm those people in that. Um, However, I went ahead and went there, and the way that the building was made, if you when you pull in, the public parking's over here, and the building's over there, and it's in a closed off little area, so you can't like drive through the front of like the building to the next street. So once I parked, I went ahead, put on my mask and walked over, and I could not see the drop box. I was like, I don't know where the drop box is. Like, is it in, like, I don't see it out here. Is it inside? So I go inside, I stand in a line. I don't know what this line is for. It's just like to the door. And I was like, I'll just stand in line. So I'm standing in line. I'm looking around to see if there's like any signs of like where the drop box is and stuff like that. And I remember seeing like this little crinkled piece of paper on the wall, and it was like, do not drop your ballot here. The ballot drop box is outside. And I was like, it's like, where is it? Like, did I miss it? So I went out, and I went out the other door, and there it was. I couldn't see it because the official drop box was much smaller. And there was like a tax commissioner box right next to it that was much larger. So when you're walking from the front of the building, from the parking lot, you wouldn't necessarily see it. Also, because so and with Women Engaged, we do election protection work every election cycle. So I've been trained a few times about what to see. And so I know on election day, like polling locations have to have visible signage about where to go vote. So like where the line starts, where to park, stuff like that. And I will say, using the Dropbox this time around, there was no signs like that. Like that's what I was expecting to see, was that like, here's a sign to like go to the Dropbox and drop your stuff off. And so I thought that that was very interesting, um, to not see that this time around. So I just wanted to flag that for folks that, like, if you need assistance and stuff like that, to like be on the lookout, look outside, look around and see where it's at. Because at least from my experience, there wasn't a sign at that point, at that Dropbox location, but there may be signs at other places. But I just wanted to uplift that just in case you tried to go or not. I will say the best resource if you're in Georgia looking for a Dropbox is the govotega.org website. That is, they have a huge, very thorough FAQ about voting by absentee, and on the first tab is where you could locate it by county where your polling site is. And if you want to get more insight about that, I actually did a quick TikTok about my voting experience, which I think was posted on our Instagram and maybe our Facebook page. If not, we'll post it there later. Um, but that was kind of what my experience was voting. But I will say it was very quick. I did check the status of my ballot, I think on the 21st. What? Right? Wow, this week is just going by, you guys. So I checked the status of my ballot on the 21st, and my ballot was accepted. It was received and it was accepted. So I went and voted last Friday, right before the live that we had then. And probably like a few days later, they actually got my ballot. So it was a very quick turnaround. So for folks who are feeling a little bit, shaky about mailing back their ballots, or unsure if it's going to be accepted in time, I would definitely and highly encourage you, if you can, to drop it off at a Dropbox. Now, I did take a picture of the rules that were on the side of the Dropbox, so I'm going to go ahead and read that out loud, because I know that some folks are maybe not be able to drop off their ballots at a Dropbox for a number of reasons, but I know that there is some language that speaks to that. From my understanding, I'm going to make sure I pull it up correctly. Where are you, rules? Here we go. So, and this is the official notice that was on the side of the box, just in case you're wondering, like, where is she reading from? And so, first of all, the Dropbox are located in places that have video surveillance. So that also may speak to why it was at the government building as well. But it says only the following individuals may possess or deliver an absentee ballot on behalf of a voter. It's either the voter themselves, the voter's mother, father, grandparent, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, spouse, son, daughter, niece, nephew, grandchild, son in law, daughter in law, mother in law, father in law, brother in law, or sister in law. It can also be an individual residing in the same household as the voter, or a caretaker of a voter with disabilities. And so this is the official listing that is here. It's also on the Secretary of State's website, as well as the instructions that are included on your absentee ballot of the folks who can take and drop off your ballot for you or mail off your ballot for you as well. Now, it does provide a warning, and I'm going to read that out loud just so folks know what it says. Unauthorized possession of the absentee ballot violates Georgia law and is punishable by a fine up to $10,000. And also to willfully destroying or defacing or delaying delivery of any ballot violates Georgia law as well. And so I want to make sure that people understand that, like, if your ballot, if you do need a new ballot for any type of mistake or reason, make sure to let your county election office know and write spoiled across it. And they'll issue out a new one. And also note too that that means that, like, these Dropbox locations are a viable option for voting. There is some hesitancy around folks, with mailing and stuff like that, or worried about tampering and things like that, and know that there are things in place to make sure that our votes are protected so we can vote in this upcoming election. Okay, so that was a little bit about my voting experience. I'm always open to questions if folks have anything like that, but I want to go ahead and start talking about a little bit about, like, what to expect post November and what's going on there. So as many of you all have probably heard, like, we will not probably know who the winners are of the elections on November 3rd. And that's just due to the sheer volume of people who have been voting and turning out. I think I might have mentioned this last week that, like, on the first day of voting, like, nearly 500,000 people showed out for just the first day of voting. And that those numbers continue to show out. People are showing up, making sure that they're ready to vote and things like that. Um, and we want to make sure that we're really pushing that every vote gets counted, whether those are provisional ballots, um, mail-in ballots, things like that, that every vote gets counted. So there'll be a lot of effort and work for the 3 days after November 3rd to ensure that those ballots get counted. Now, I know that we've been getting questions about, like, if someone, tries to contest, like, an election, like, what does that mean? And I do want to note that, like, contesting the election isn't that that someone's contesting the entirety of the election. Contesting the election means that they're saying that there are certain problems or issues that are being faced on a county level that may disrupt the integrity of the election, right? And that's why it's so critical for us to ensure that we are protecting the ballot box, conducting our election protection, helping combat misinformation, and really supporting one another, and making sure that folks can get out to vote, and that information is really accessible. So that's why we do these lives. That's why we're sharing content. And that's why we're so appreciative to all of you all for joining us, taking the pledges, sharing out information with your networks as well, because that's really what it's going to take to ensure that everyone has the ability to vote and that we can get these things rectified. On a national level, most states have to have any issues relating to the election and all ballots counted by November 17th. The Electoral College, in regards to the presidential position, is scheduled to vote, I believe, the second week of December. And so, but we should have a projected winner by mid-November. So oftentimes in the years previously, the person who was, like, declared winner of an election, or the winners of the election in regards to the president, that was the projection. Oftentimes the Electoral College was always voting officially in December. And if folks have more questions about the Electoral College, we might do a little bit of, like, a quick video or something about that in the middle of the week. If there's any energy around that, feel free to drop that in the comments as well. We will definitely get that out to you all. And so I think we have about 8 more minutes. So I'm going to just pause here just in case folks have more comments. I see more people are kind of popping in. So glad to see you all. And so I think while I'm waiting for more comments and stuff to kind of pop in, just want to note that if you are planning to vote in person, and we're going to start providing some information about this today, is that you should go ahead and pack what we call a voter kit. So oftentimes, especially here in Georgia, because we are a voter ID state, you want to bring your state ID, or not your state ID, but just a form of identification. In Georgia, you can use an out-of-state ID because all they need it for is just to verify your identity. They're not doing it to verify your address. But you just want to bring some form of picture ID and stuff. We'll provide that listing of what that looks like if you're interested in, like, what IDs are permissible So like, for example, you wouldn't be able to use a private college student ID, but if you went to a public university or a public college, you could use your student ID as a form of identification to vote in person. But you also want to bring water, you want to bring snacks, maybe some good music, and also a friend. A lot of times, like voting in community and voting with others is just so powerful and so impactful and really keeps us motivated to stay there. Um, because as we've seen, like sometimes lines can get very lengthy here in Georgia, so we want to make sure that we're supporting folks in that. All right. I don't think that there are any questions. And so I'm turning up the music a bit because this is going to be a little bit of the outro. Oh, and this is the song, y'all. I didn't even know. Like, and folks who don't know me, I love me some Janelle Monáe. So, like, so this Spotify just new. The playlist just new. I think I added it on the playlist. Okay. I don't know. And just so you guys know, just like, because I'm going to gush about Janelle Monáe right now. First of all, she's from Kansas City. Whoop whoop. And this is from her album Dirty Computer. And so I just really appreciate it because it really talks about like the journey of um, especially like young black queer femmes and queer folks navigation like in this country, and just like it's just really good. I stand. I stand. All right. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. Oh my gosh. And if folks want to have more conversations about what to expect down ballot, have any questions about early voting, just anything like that, we are always here as a resource for folks to ensure that people feel confident when they go to the polls, or just feeling confident in general in your civic engagement. Um, because that's the thing, is that here at Women Engaged, we do this work year round. Okay, we sit at the intersections of reproductive justice and civic engagement because we really want to use our civic power um, in order to really enact the changes that we want to seek in our own personal lives. So, being astute about the issues that matter most to you and what uh, processes or things that we can do to really hold people accountable and enact those changes. So I guess to talk also about some of the things on the horizon, we are definitely working on another segment, something really fun and motivating. So it's going to be a surprise. Tonight we will be on Instagram, but we'll be starting an hour late. So instead of 6 p.m., we'll be starting at 7 p.m. We'll be hanging back, having a little bit more of a chill session, and just really getting to know each other. In regards to some dates to remember, this weekend is the last weekend for weekend voting here in Georgia. So please check your county elections office for exact hours, as hours may vary. But folks are having Saturday voting tomorrow, and some counties are having Sunday voting. I know Fulton County is, but I'm not sure about some of the surrounding counties. But you can also check that information as well on your My Voter page, which is also already in the comments as well. The last day for early voting is October 30th. And if you have an absentee ballot, it has to be received by your elections office on election day in order for it to be counted, or at least postmarked. So please make sure to get that in as soon as possible if you already have it. And if you need assistance like around stamps and stuff like that, I always encourage folks to take our pledge to vote, to mark that, because we really want to also just know like what issues are impacting you when it comes to voting, or what obstacles you're having to overcome in order to vote. Right now, I think last I saw, we're up to 300 people, and that is like amazing. Our goal is to get up to 500 people to take that pledge with us. So if you haven't already, go ahead and take it. If you know other people in your family or friends, or just people in your house right now, go ahead and have them take it as well. Again, it's all about that relational organizing, building relationships, getting to know one another. And so if there are no other questions, I really appreciate you all your patience today. Next week, we're going to have our really special guest, our founding executive director, Malika Redmond, to give us the charge about how we're going to go into November 3rd and really, provide some encouraging wisdom and words about how we continue onward beyond this election, like what does the landscape look like and how we can continue to plug in. So as always, thank you all so much. This was our third episode of You Ask What Third? Fourth. This is our fourth episode of You Ask the Answers. Wow. You guys, we are growing. I'm so excited about this. And I'm so excited to have you all here. And so if there's nothing else, I will yes, thank you for that, Lauren. So just before I was about to sign off, but that comment came through. I keep forgetting about the lag between comments. As long as your ballot's in the Dropbox by 7 p.m. on election day, it will count. So please consider using a Dropbox if you haven't known. So yeah, thank you so much for that clarification. I appreciate it. And hi, Theta. Or me, Lavia. Sorry, you did not hear that. Lavia. Okay. So excited to see you. We're just wrapping up. Somebody gave us the greatest show. So that's definitely what we're trying to build here. And if there's any topic that you all want us to cover in future segments, I know originally when we first posted this event out, we said every Friday in October. But if you guys want us to continue to go on and go forward, just let us know. Again, like Women Engaged, we are here really centering the work around uplifting Black women, femmes, and girls because when we're doing well, everyone else does well. And so I thank you all again. I'm really signing off this time. And I hope you all have a wonderful Friday, a great weekend, and thank you.